Hello, Kratom Quitters. Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is episode 66. This is Jacob, and I am here with Decima. Good evening, Decima. How are things?
Good evening, Jacob. Things are good as always, as usual, we'll say right now.
Good as usual. That's cool. Yeah, things are pretty good on my end too. Summer starting and all that's. Our topic for tonight is the things that you would think are normal when you're using kratom or other substances, that when you get sober or enter recovery or stop using kratom, that look crazy in hindsight. So the first one for me was, I remember when I first started using daily and built a tolerance, and the kratom wasn't working, and I didn't really want to up my dose at first. I obviously did that eventually, but I'd read online that sometimes food would interact with kratom. So I got into the habit of timing my kratom consumption to coincide with when my stomach was less full, because apparently it absorbs better. It's crazy in hindsight because I take medication for thyroid. I take medicated assisted treatment, and I don't really think about what I'm eating and when I'm taking that. So it was totally normal to do it on kratom, which in hindsight, it's taking the substance at certain times on a less of a stomach so it actually works is crazy. I don't even know if it actually did that much, to be honest. It sounded perfectly normal at the time.
Hey, we'll try anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that a lot of the things that became normal whenever I was using that really aren't normal, like I told you earlier, I knew these things weren't normal, but they like became normal. Yeah. So for example, like planning my whole day around the mail, waiting at the mailbox, spying through the blinds, checking informed delivery, all
Oh,
like
yeah.
where is the mail. I did a lot of that, and just waking up early every morning in withdrawal, that's not normal, but it became normal. Every single morning I had to wake up. It was a routine. Wake up an hour before time to actually wake up, take the kratom real quick, and try to go back to sleep and hope it kicks in before I actually have to wake up. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was that was normal for me. I have a lot more, but we can go back and forth on this. What do you
Oh,
got?
I have a ton more too. The other thing with kratom, or one of the other things with kratom that became normal for me, that yeah, I also knew wasn't normal when I started, was just the sheer amount of plant matter that I was consuming on a daily basis. Like tablespoon after
Wow.
tablespoon. And it was just like, oh, it's fine. It's just, it's just what it is. It needs to go in. And then telling myself that I would just buy a couple shots today, or I would just buy a little bit. And it was fine to come 5 o'clock, go back to the store to buy more, because that's just what you did. Not normal. Most normal people that don't have a substance abuse problem don't go purchase their drug of choice multiple times a day. I'll give you an
No.
example. When the couple of times I've been able to use drugs recreationally, one was like ecstasy back in the day. I could take that once, and then for months I wouldn't take it. I never went 5 hours later to my dealer's house and was like, had to buy more. So wasn't normal.
I don't crack really. Kratom's more crack like that, huh?
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. But you
Yes.
know what? That plant matter leads to another thing that I became normal, and I have heard is normal for
Oh
a lot of
God.
people, is big painful poops.
I knew it was coming, yeah. Yes, exactly. Oh, that was the other one. Yeah, it was either in a state of constipation or a state of what you just mentioned. There was like no
Yeah,
in between. And that was fine. Normal.
baby, yeah. My
Yeah,
husband tell me about that shit. You used to clog the toilets. I'm like, shut up. We're over that now.
I've seen posted on Reddit the poop knife for opiates and kratom, and people talk about this. Go, if you haven't seen this, go check it out on Reddit. Listeners, just go to our kratom or opiates and put in poop knife and see what comes up. It sounds like a normal conversation these people are having if you like look at it from their point of view, but it's not normal.
It's crazy. But speaking of utensils, I had a kratom spoon in my purse all the time, and it was like caked, like all green and yucky. Who carries a spoon around? That was pretty normal
Yeah,
for me.
I bought a like the set of like spoons that you do for measuring. but I just kept the
Mhm.
tablespoon one and threw the
Everyone.
rest away. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. That's exactly
Not
what
not
mine was.
normal. Yeah.
Not. But it was to us. See, we can relate. That means it was normal for us.
Yes, exactly. There's lots of people probably listening to this right now that are saying, "Yeah, that sounds normal."
So another weird normal thing with back to the swallowing the matter. I actually swallowed the plant matter for years in little balls of toilet paper, and we call it paper. What do we call it? Parachutes.
Shooting. Yeah.
That's normal for me. Swallowing toilet paper all day, every day. This is crazy.
Well, what else do I got? Doing the same thing over and over again every day is like the definition of insanity. But I remember towards the end, I would get like sick, like the
Mm.
wobbly, sick, gonna throw up ish like
Mhm.
stuff. And I would be like, I'd lay down for an hour and then it would pass and then it would eventually wear off a couple hours later. And I'd just take more and get sick again. And I just kept doing that over and over again. And it was like, oh, okay, that's just what happens. I have to take this because otherwise I'll be in withdrawal. But this sickness is better than that sickness, so it's okay.
That's actually how I ended up having a seizure. And basically, I did the same thing. It's on my list. I used to get sick and have the wobbles regularly. Basically, we were almost having seizures regularly.
Yeah, you could feel it in your eyes. It was a weird
Hmm.
sensation. I don't know how else to describe it.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary. The last one that I have on my list is, and this might not be that strange, but like makeup, wearing makeup, having to put it on every day was like a pain in my ass, and it became a normal thing. And it was because my skin was so broke out all the time that I could not even leave my house. I didn't have the confidence to leave my house without makeup. And now I'm like able to just get up and leave in the morning, and it's pretty amazing. I'm like, damn, that was normal getting up every morning and putting makeup on. Who needs to do that? That's crazy to me now.
Yeah. The last one I'll mention is I like to travel quite a bit, and when I was
Oh,
in Kratom, when the pandemic ended, I was like really looking forward to travel, but I didn't do any travel for a year because I couldn't go anywhere. I had to be close to my stash. Couldn't go away because who knows what the accessibility would have been, and that was totally fine and normal. It's normal to plan your life around whatever drug supply you have. Not
and if
normal.
it's going to be legal there, and that's also another one I forgot to mention, taking kratom in bathrooms and porta potties and public restrooms and shit. That was very normal for me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same. I remember started going back to work and I was like taking the shots in the bathroom and just random
please
place. Disgusting. Yeah.
hit me with a
Yeah.
spoon. Well, I'm so glad that all those fucking things that used to be normal for us are not normal anymore, and we can actually like be free from
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I don't want to go back there. I'd like my normal things to stay and be normal people things.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, I think we'll get on to the interview and yeah,
Sounds
have
good.
a good week, everybody.
Hello, my quitting kratom friends. I could not be happier to be here today with one of the most positive, kindest people that I know from the kratom recovery community. His name is Jack. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Jessima. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be talking with you today. I've really been looking forward to this interview.
Awesome. Looking forward
And
to it.
I'm so glad to have you here today, Jack. We're just going to jump right in it. Tell us, have you quit Kratom? And if you have, how long ago?
So yes, I have quit Kratom. I have been off of Kratom since July of 2023. So today is day 340 for me. So it's been 11 months, and it feels really good.
That's amazing.
I also am a part of the Quitting Kratom support group. I am one of the hosts for the Saturday morning Quitting Kratom meeting, and I'm just really happy to have a part in this community. I'm really glad this community exists, and I'm always glad to help people out.
Let's talk a little bit about your Kratom addiction. How were you introduced to Kratom?
So I got introduced to kratom. I think it was late 2019. I was a freshman in college, and one of my friends had asked me if I'd ever heard of kratom before, and I said no. What is that? And he said it's basically a substance. It's a powder. You can buy it at smoke shops, and it makes you feel high. And at that time, I was interested in anything that made me feel any different. Can you swear on these?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. If it got me fucked up, that's what I wanted. And then that February,
Yeah.
I got a chance to try some. I went to the smoke shop and I bought green vein kratom and took it with a little powder and spoon and I tried it and I felt like I was on Adderall. And I said, this stuff is awesome. And I got started from there. When I was in college, I was really into amphetamines in college, and kratom was the next best thing. And pretty soon, it replaced amphetamines, it replaced weed, and I thought when I was doing just kratom, I was sober.
Now, how long ago was that you were introduced to kratom? So how long did you use?
So I used kratom first in 2019 when I was 19 years old, and I stopped in 2023. So it was for about 4 years I was doing kratom on and off, and then it got really
Mm,
bad in the last year.
gotcha. So it sounds like you're a little different than some, whereas you knew that it was going to get you high. So you had a little history of drug addiction.
So when I was in high school, when I was a senior in high school, or it's going back to when I was a junior in high school, I was a little bit chubby when I was a junior, and people would come up to me and pinch the fat on my chest, which made me feel really insecure
Mm.
about myself. And then I saw the movie Requiem for a Dream, and I saw that you could lose weight with ADHD medication. I went to my psychologist at the time and I said, I think I may have ADHD. Gave me a little form, I filled that out along with my mom. Next thing I know, I'm at Walgreens picking up a medication, picking up a prescription for Dextra or for 10 milligrams of dextroamphetamine. And pretty soon, I noticed that if I took them, I felt really euphoric and I was losing weight. I was like, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. For my entire senior year, I was taking amphetamines and I ended up losing about 40 pounds. And pretty soon it got to the point where I would feel happy, but that euphoria didn't last as long, and the crashes just became, oh my god, unbearable. And it got to the point where I was pretty much crabby for the rest of the day, to the point where I would become hostile. So then I ended up was able to put amphetamines down for a long time. And then when I got into college, I took kratom for the first time, and that's what it reminded me of was the amphetamines. And I said, all right, this is awesome. And yeah, and then it pretty much just goes from there.
Whenever you started taking kratom, did you stop the amphetamines or were you taking both?
Was taking both here and there. I was taking both, but as soon as I was out of college, it became harder to get amphetamines. I pretty much just whipped to kratom nonstop. I was going to the smoke shop 2 to 3 times a day.
Yeah, we've all been there for sure. So did the kratom eventually just take over completely, or did you have to quit everything at once, if you don't mind me
Kratom
asking?
Kratom pretty much took over completely. It was pretty gradual, but pretty soon I stopped marijuana. This was when I was a senior in college. I stopped marijuana. I stopped amphetamines, Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, stopped all those, and I was on kratom pretty much the full time. And pretty soon kratom, there was after I graduated, I said I like these shots more than I like amphetamines.
Mm. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely hear the story a lot. So we all know what it feels like when we do kratom and it feels good and how it's amazing until it's not. So
Right.
we'll just skip over that. Let's just fast forward. What were the signs that it was not so good?
It got to the point where I was starting to where I remember I was spending $30 a day, and I thought I was sober at that point. I was still blind because I was thrilled that I'd been able to put down all the other stuff I was doing, and I thought, this is awesome, I'm sober now, even though I'm spending way more money than what I was on any of that other stuff. And it got to the point where pretty soon, over the year, it gradually got worse and worse. I was horribly depressed, and the only way I could feel happiness at all would be as if I took a shot. And it got to the point where I was going to the smoke shop 3 to 4 times a day. I remember there was no Wild Bills in Big Rapids, and I said, I will not drive. The closest store that sold them was like 45 minutes away. And told myself, I'm not going to drive that far just for, and I said, and then like 15 minutes later, I said, you know what? It might be a cool little road trip. So next thing I know, I'm driving 45 minutes just for the purpose of buying. And I said, you know what? This will give me a reason to buy in bulk. And then pretty
Mm.
soon, next thing I know, it just got to the point where always made sure I had with me if I was going on a long drive back downstate to see my family, back back up north to work. I would need at least four in the car. I remember one time I was about to head back up north, and I stopped by a gas station to go pick up some, and the case they were usually in was empty. And when I saw that it was empty,
Oh.
I actually panicked. And then I realized,
Hmm.
okay, I think I might have a problem. And I asked the people at the store, I said, what happened to all of them in the case? And they said that some guy had come in the night before and actually bought all 19 of
Wow.
them. So I thought it was at that moment that I thought to myself, okay, I don't think I'm probably not the only one who has a problem with these. If some guy is coming in and buying all
Yeah.
19 of them, I can't be the only one who's having this issue with these. But and then
Wow.
I was having like I said, the depression got so bad that I would be in the smoke shop feeling depressed and on the verge of tears, and then I would have to put a smile on my face and rehearse a talk before I went in there, so that way I would be able to hide whatever emotions I was about to show in there.
Wow. Yeah. And you also have to worry about if you're driving with it and stuff and carrying extra going through a state that it's illegal too, right?
Luckily, I don't think I ever bought them outside of Michigan. I was in Michigan. I do know that in Indiana, it's a Schedule 1 substance there, but you can get
Yeah.
in serious
Yeah.
trouble with kratom there.
That's how it is here. My mom lives in Alabama, which is like 30 minutes away, and it's legal in Mississippi, but if you cross the border, the state line, you have a felony. Okay, so what happened to make you quit? What was your final straw?
There's also a build up to that too. I started in November of 2022. I started going to therapy. I said, I think I have a problem with this kratom stuff. I talked to my mom about it. I said, I think I have a problem, and I went to a therapist. He didn't specialize in substances, so then that brought me over to a counselor with a group called 1016. They're a Michigan-based, like a mid to northern Michigan-based recovery network, and I started seeing a counselor there, and then I started seeing a recovery coach and going to meetings. But I was still going. I was still going to the smoke shop. It wasn't stopping me from going to the smoke shop and picking up kratom. And then pretty soon I said, "This is I need to do something differently." And then I ended up going to detox at this place called Pine Rest in July of 2023, where I was there for about 4 days. And it was just that I was spending close to $600 a week. My therapist had me record how much money I was spending, and then I was seeing there was like $90. There was times where I was going to the smoke shop and spending about $90, and I would tell myself I'm not gonna buy this much. But then Wild Bills, which is a smoke shop chain here in Michigan, would have a kratom sale every Wednesday. It was like 20% off all kratom. I said, you know what, might as well buy more. And it would get to the point where I would say, I'm not gonna take any at work today, but I would always bring some with me. I would always give myself a reason to take more, whether it be I had a stressful moment, take kratom. You had a good day, celebrate with a shot. And I said, this isn't getting any better. I can't stop on my own. I'm gonna need some extra help. I need to take measures to the next level. And then I said, I think I need to make it impossible for a few days. I had to somehow make it impossible for at least a few days to get kratom. And for me, that was going to detox.
So when you went to detox, how was that? Did you have, I guess I want to ask if you had withdrawal symptoms and what kind of withdrawal symptoms and how you dealt with that in
So
detox.
it wasn't definitely as crazy as I've heard other people say. I was definitely super out of it when I was in detox, just super out of it, having definitely a lot of anxiety and depression. I couldn't think straight. I remember it was detox, going through detox was hell. It was definitely just having just like a lot of that anxiety. What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
I remember, and I got out of detox and I went back to work the next day. And I remember I was having some serious leg pain. I was having leg pain. It would hurt to walk up the stairs. I also had a constant craving for caffeine, and I noticed that my appetite was just ferocious because when I was on kratom, I wasn't eating,
Mm,
having a lot of constipation on kratom, but as soon as the kratom was
yeah.
gone, my body was like, it's time to eat. So my appetite was just ferocious. So I was
So
eating
it sounds like you
constantly.
went cold turkey, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yuck. I know that had to be rough. Did they give you like any kind of helper meds or anything like that, or
Yeah,
did you just
they
rough
did.
it?
They gave me some gabapentin. I think that's what it was called. And they also gave me a little bit of
Hmm.
Valium. And then the day I left, they gave me a Vivitrol shot as well as a naltrexone prescription, which I've been taking ever since.
This is good information. A lot of people consider and wonder if they should go to treatment for kratom. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering and considering it, yes, it is an option and they can help you out there. So thank you so much
Mhm.
for telling us about that, sharing your experience with treatment. How were the first 30 days of your quit?
They were definitely a roller coaster, to say the least, of anxiety. I was thinking to myself, how am I going to function? Because at that point, kratom was just so embedded in my life. After work, straight to the smoke shop in Cadillac. I had a 30-minute commute to work, so as soon as I was off of work, I would go to the Wild Bills in Cadillac, pick up there, drive back to Big Rapids, stop at the Wild Bills there, buy more there. I don't know why I would do that. Probably because I didn't want them to see me buy that many and think I was an addict. But I would go there, make sure I would stop and make sure I had more than enough. But I remember the first day driving home from work, I was just gripping the steering wheel. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm just gonna go buy a shot, and it'll just help me. It'll just help me with my anxiety. I didn't. I ended up buying kava that day, just kava, not kratom, which probably wasn't the best move, but it helped out for the first week. And then after that, there was a lot of anxiety. I was pretty much caffeine nonstop. That was caffeine and nicotine are still pretty much my replacements for kratom. I always have caffeine and nicotine lozenges with me. And I remember I was driving, it was the first week I was driving back downstate, because driving back downstate to see my family is like a 3 hour drive. And that was something for going on like long drives, I had gotten to the point where I did not think I could do it without kratom. And I remember that day I had to stop in Lansing, Michigan to help my brother move out of his apartment. And I said, this is a 2 hour drive, and it's going to be without kratom. And I took like this route I'd never been on before, and it was I went through a lot of back roads, a lot of farmland, and it was absolutely awesome. I was having no anxiety. No, there was no kratom, and I was seeing like all
Yeah.
like these new parts of the state, and I was like, "This is awesome." I was listening to some great music, and it was like totally awesome. And I was thinking to myself, if I were taking kratom right now, I would be the opposite of what I was worried about being. I would be reaching into my glove box to take out another bottle, or pulling over,
Yep.
trying to find the nearest smoke shop. Because cause the euphoria from kratom got to the point where it would only last for me, if I was lucky, 15 minutes. And then after that, I'd just be anxious. I would be anxious, telling myself the euphoria is still there. And I realized
Hmm.
if I was still on kratom, I would not be feeling this good. I would be thinking to myself, "Oh my God, when can I get kratom again?" And just that drive, I was just like, "This is truly amazing." And it was just it was awesome.
It's all the emotions come back and your mind just clears and you're able to actually be fully present. It's an amazing
Yeah,
feeling.
it was. I was fully present. I was looking at
And
all
you,
like the scenery and everything.
I love it. And did music come flooding back for you too? Were you like, a
Yes,
lot of people talk about the feelings from music?
yes,
Yes.
yeah. I
I love
remember
it.
the song "Just Like Heaven" by The Cure was. I remember that song specifically. I was listening to.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
That is a great song. I was listening
Oh,
to that
good
as
one.
I was driving, and I was like, this truly is just like heaven."
Oh, I love it. When I was 14, I always said I was going to marry Robert Smith when I grew up. I love the Cure.
They're awesome.
So, Jack, I actually have a question for you that I've come up with just listening to your story a little bit. I know you said that there were times when you would try to quit or whatever, and you would just be, oh, I can go get some or whatever. But did you ever, is this the first time you ever like fully really tried to quit, or did you really try a few times?
I would say this is like my first time where I actually was able to put it down. I would say in other times, I would say I'm done, and I would always give myself what addicts tend to do is we always tend to just give ourselves a reason to take more. Say it'll be okay.
Mhm.
Just come up with our mind will just give us some random BS reason to go out to the smoke shop and get more. But I knew I had a problem for a long time. I was just too afraid to put it down. I think it was because I was just not satisfied with my life working third shift. I
Right.
said this is the only way I can feel happy. If I don't have kratom, I'll just be so depressed. Even though looking back now, kratom was the reason why my life was hell. It was keeping me from going out. I was not sleeping. As I've said in meetings, I would always take my last dose of kratom as I was going to bed. So that kept me up, and definitely I wasn't able to eat, and if I was able to eat, I would always throw up. My kratom got so bad that by the time I would take my last, as I would keep on going, I'd be so nauseated, and my body would tell me like, do not take any more of this kratom, and I would still force myself to swallow, which
Mhm.
food when you're is absolutely disgusting stuff. And taking it when you're sick is the absolute worst. And that was me every day. There would be times at work where I'd spend half my shift in the bathroom throwing up. And I thought to myself, thank God my boss isn't here. And when I would eat, I would usually, a lot of times, just throw it right up after I finished eating. So I would have no meals for that day. So I got very skinny. Luckily, I've gained about 25 pounds since I've stopped kratom, which is a really good thing. And I've noticed that going for nature walks with earbuds in is truly that feels so much better than kratom ever did. Just being in nature, listening to music, the sunshine. Oh my gosh, the warm sunshine on your skin is truly the best medicine, and I'm just so thankful for it.
I love it so much. So that actually is what I wanted to talk about next, a little bit more about the type of things that you're doing and the things that are helping you to stay sober and off of kratom.
So I would say I had a little bit of trouble when I first stopped doing kratom. As soon as I stopped kratom, I started taking Benadryl. I was abusing Benadryl pretty much as a substance replacement for kratom. Because if you take a lot of Benadryl, a lot of people say they hallucinate. I would feel euphoria from taking at least 7 Benadryl. I wasn't doing it at work like I was kratom, but as soon as I came home from work, I would pop 7 Benadryls, and I said, "This is great." And I kept it a secret, and I knew I was doing, and I said, "This is okay." But I was keeping it a secret, not telling anyone, because I knew that if I told people, I would have to start. They would say, "Tell me to put it down," and I knew I had to start doing that. So I kept it a secret for about 2 months. When I was at my house in Lake Orion, and my mom called me out, she said, "Jack, you look and sound as high as a kite right now." And I said, "I'm abusing Benadryl." So then I started telling more and more people about it. I told my therapist, my recovery coach, started talking about it in the Kratom group meetings. And one day in October of 2023, I took about 40 Benadryls one day, and it made me sick. And then after that, I just stopped. And I've been off of Benadryl ever since then. So it's been pretty nice. And I remember I was off of Benadryl for 3 weeks, and I said this is probably the longest I've ever gone without any kind of substance since I was at least 18 years old. And so that felt pretty good. We're just taking it easy. Whenever things got stressful, I would just find out that just curling up in bed and putting on a good movie is a good stress relief right there. For me, at least, curling up with a good movie. Walks with music have been truly a lifesaver for me. That's been good. Caffeine has been caffeine and nicotine are pretty much my vices now, my go-tos. Vices probably doesn't sound good, but they've been pretty much my go-tos. But it's just walking, just going on walks, getting exercise, music, reading books, enjoying a good meal, getting out, going out, getting good food, ice cream, just the stuff that I used to enjoy has been coming back to me, and that's what's kept me off kratom. And then just if I ever do feel like I want to take kratom again, which those thoughts do pop up every now and again, just tell myself that, just ask myself, if you go back, what's going to be different this time? I think it's going to be, if you go back, it's not going to be any different than what it was last time. You're going to fall into the same habits you were in, and you'll just be right back to where you were.
So you play the tape through. Sounds.
Play the tape forward. Play the tape forward.
Yep. I want to throw another one out there that I see you doing to help you stay off of kratom, Jack, and that's being of service to others. You are amazing at that. And I want to talk a
Thank
little bit
you.
about the support systems. I already know that you're going to say the meetings and the people there because that's a big one. But yeah, let's talk about your support systems. What do you have in place for that to help you prevent relapse?
So, my biggest support system, I would say, is the Kratom group meeting. It's truly such a great group of people, and it's definitely unfortunate. And it's definitely there's a lot of people there, and it's sad to see people having these issues and struggling with Kratom and whatnot. But I'm also glad that they're finding this community, because I think it's really important that people who have a kratom addiction are sticking together, because kratom truly is a unique substance, because a lot of people have no idea what it even is, and those that do know what it is and take it are the ones who are usually swearing by it, saying it's like a miracle drug, when it really does cause a lot of problems for people. So I think that it's really important for those people to find that community, to have that community, to have people that can relate to them on that level. Because kratom, it doesn't have the same stigma as something like alcohol or other drugs do. So I think that is really important. And also, being the host of the meetings has also kept me sober, has kept me from going back to kratom, because as doing that, I feel it's important that I stay a positive role model to the people in the meetings. So just doing that, just saying I have these people who may look up to me in the meetings, and I want to show them that it's possible. For the people who are coming to these meetings, show it's possible to stay off kratom that long.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. It's like a layer of accountability that everybody doesn't have.
Hmm.
That's a true blessing. It really is. So that's awesome. Tell us of how are things now, Jack? What's your life look like now? Health, job, relationships? What's it looking like out there without kratom?
So it's been pretty good. My health has been pretty good, I'd say. I want to start getting back to the gym more. I was going to do that when 2024 first started, but that didn't end up happening. But my mood has been so much better. I've been taking antidepressants, so that's helped out a lot. But overall, my mood, when I think back to where my mood was a year ago at this time, it's just so much better. I would say my relationships with my coworkers have improved a lot. It's hard for me to make friends where in my town right now, because it's a college town and working third shift, so it's hard to socialize. But I feel like my relationships have grown better with my coworkers over the time, so that's definitely a positive thing. Gotten closer to my parents. My job has gotten better. I feel like I'm more focused. I'm a news producer, and ever since I stopped creating, I feel like I'm more focused on being more creative with my job. I'll be leaving my job pretty soon. July 19th will be my last day. I'm still looking for a new job. Right now, I have my sights focused on somewhere in Indiana, and those conversations have been going really well so far. It's in South Bend, which will be good for me to move to Indiana, because that's where kratom is illegal. So if I ever do want to go back, it won't be there. So it'll definitely give me an extra layer of protection. But right now, I am off work right now because of a car accident. I got injured in that, so I'll be off work for a little bit. But my job was going really well. Definitely getting better at it. getting better with handling the stress of the job when something breaking news happens, getting those stories in and just acting as opposed to freaking out, collaborating better. So yeah, it's been going good. Relationships are something I feel like I could work on a little bit more. Friendships, having closer friends, but I still have some friends in downstate where I'm at right now, so I have them still. So that's good. But I feel like my relationships could always be better.
Yeah, we're always a work in progress. That's definitely for sure. I'm wondering if you mentioned earlier that you were spending like $600 a week on Kratom. So are you keeping track of how much you're saving now? Because I did the math. And if you were spending $600 a week, you should have an extra around $31,000 now. So that's something to celebrate.
I don't have that. I don't have an extra $31,000, unfortunately. But all
Other
I
things
know,
besides Kratom.
other things besides freedom, I can actually afford to pay my rent now, so that's a good thing. I'm saving a lot more money. I'm able to spend more money on things that I actually enjoy. Good food, new books,
Mhm.
a new movie off the Criterion collection, just stuff like that. And I just like there's a lot of guilt about that. A lot of guilt about how much money I was spending. A lot of that guilt is gone now, so that also feels really good.
Yeah, that's always nice to quit beating ourselves up.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, this is actually one of my favorite questions. Is there a message that you would like to tell yourself, your future self, if you come back and listen to this podcast a year from now?
Is there a message I would have liked to tell my future self? Just,
Yes,
I would
leave your
say,
future self a message now.
I know it's been tough. Life doesn't get easier, and life doesn't get easier. So just face it honestly with no substances and keep your chin up. I would say just keep your chin up.
Nice. And if somebody was to come to you and tell you, which I'm sure they do a lot with the position you're in being of service, what is your top tip for somebody that is getting ready to quit kratom?
I would say just that's a I would say make sure you have the I would there's a lot of things I would say. I would say make sure you
Yeah.
have a good community with you. Make sure you have a community that has quit kratom specifically because I've met a lot of other people who are in recovery who don't know what kratom is. I would say make sure you have a kratom specific community with you. I would say it's probably not good to look into probably not good to give medical advice, but I would say look into naltrexone. That'll help you. It'll give you even if it'll make it so even if you do take kratom, you won't feel anything. And I would say just be honest. And I would say whatever plan you make, stick with it. And if that doesn't work, go back to the beginning and change stuff. But the most important thing is having that community there. But the most important thing is just having that support group there.
I agree with every single thing that you said 100%. The support group and just the support of others in general made all the difference for me. And I
Hmm.
also wanted to insert a reminder here for those that are listening. And you mentioned naltrexone, which I also am on the Vivitrol shot, the 30, it's a shot you take every 30 days, but it's naltrexone as well. And I just wanted to let you guys know there is no like physical dependency. It's not mind altering or anything like that. If you quit, you're not going to have any kind of withdrawal or anything like that. So just wanted to point that out. But please make sure that you are through the acute withdrawals before beginning and work with your doctor. I love the naltrexone. I think they should be giving it out for free to everybody that needs it because it's just so amazing.
It is. It's truly a blessing.
Yes, it is. All right. I just want to make sure, is there anything else that I didn't ask you about or anything that's on your mind that you want to share with the audience today?
If you are struggling with kratom, just please go out and get help. Don't be afraid of what other people say. Part of the reason why I was afraid to go get help is because of the lack of the stigma that kratom had. Kratom is a drug, and it can destroy lives. It does have the potential to cause overdoses and kill you. So please reach out and get help, whether it be from your family, your therapist, and find a community. Quitting kratom support is truly a great resource. There's a lot of people in there who are not There's a lot of people in there, and you will find that you are not alone. Please reach out if you need help.
Absolutely. You are not crazy and you are not alone. And I don't care who tells you that kratom doesn't cause these issues. Don't let anybody tell you. We all know that you're telling the truth. So thank you so
Right,
much, Jack. Oh,
of
we really
course.
appreciate you sharing your story and your vulnerability with us. And I'm so excited to be celebrating a year with you. I can't wait next Saturday,
Awesome.
right? We should be at a year. Yeah.
Awesome. We're pretty close.
All right, Jack. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hello, Quitting Kratom friends. Decima here with this week's Kratom in the headlines. Pop quiz. How many states have banned the sale and possession of kratom? Anyone know? If you said 6, you would be correct. For now, coming soon to the tiniest state on the United States map, kratom. Yep, last week, the Rhode Island House of Representatives passed House Bill 5530, which is a version of the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. We've talked about this before. It was first conceived by the American Kratom Association. You know those guys, the AKA. The bill, which was co-sponsored by 2 Democratic representatives, passed on a 39-26 vote. The bill also passed in the Senate. If it's signed by the governor, this is going to make kratom legal for all Rhode Island consumers over the age of 21. In addition, the law is going to mandate registration requirements for both manufacturers and retail outlets selling kratom within the state. It also includes some testing requirements. So again, we've also talked about this before. I have questions, like I've asked before. Who is the one that is determining these dosage amounts? Who's saying how much can be taken, how often? How much is safe to take before driving? Who? That's what I want to know. Who is deciding who should be taking kratom and for what reasons they should be taking it? And who made them the authority on this? Because if there are going to be dosing instructions on a product, then that sounds like we are crossing over into a medication type territory to me. And I'm curious, in the AK, how are we to even trust that they have our best interest at heart? So to have this KCPA, the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, in place to protect us, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when it's sponsored by pro-kratom advocates. And a lot of these advocates like to deny that kratom even has a downside. Keeping all of that in mind, you decide for yourself, do we trust the KCPA and the AKA to regulate kratom? Sounds like Rhode Island is about to give it a try. Until next time, keep it kratom free.
Resource of the week. Sorry, folks, this episode is coming out a little bit later on a Sunday than we like. We usually drop a little bit after midnight, and this one's going to be more like 9 a.m. We had some audio issues with one of our recordings. It failed to upload, and we had to scramble and figure it out. So the resource of the week, I'm going to repeat and reshare one of our very first earliest resources that we told our audience about, and this is the 10 o'clock a.m. meeting Eastern Time on Saturday mornings. To my knowledge, it's the longest running meeting for kratom-specific recovery that I'm aware of. It is hosted by a triad of young men right now, Jack being one of them. Another is Nick G., who was previously interviewed, and Jake, who we will want to get on someday too. And if you come to that meeting Saturday morning, they have a WhatsApp group that you can get a link to join. It's a general kratom quitting group, which is also one of the most long running resources that's been out there. And the founder of that meeting is Jess, and she's been traveling and she's back. And we missed you, Jess. It's good to see you around. So that's the resource of the week, and keep it kratom free.